Hey, Dis After Dark listeners. I want to invite you all to join us over on Scare Zone, Halloween Horror Nights podcast. Scare Zone is a news, interview, history, and commentary podcast all about Universal's premier Halloween event. It's hosted by fans and experts like me, Logan Seculo, former WWE superstar Scotty Too Hottie, and Dis After Dark's own Chris Ripley. Subscribe however you get podcasts and head over to scarezone.com for more information. We here at the show are proud supporters of Dis After Dark. And remember, keep your eyes closed and your ears open on Scare Zone.
Warning, this show contains childish adult content and is intended for immature, mature audiences. Listener discretion is advised. The views spoken are ours and ours alone, not those of any other bugger. If you're easily offended, we strongly suggest finding another podcast. Everybody neat and pretty, then on with the show.
Hello and welcome to another edition of Dis After Dark. I am Nick and I've not yet been deported from America, so that's good. It helps, of course, that I'm not over in America. And speaking of people being deported from America, in a strange coincidence, I'm joined by Mr. Dolan.
Good evening. Hello there, everybody. It's been a while, but yeah, we just got kicked out of the States last week. Back on the Mayflower. Took it out of dry dock and packed us all on it. Perfect timing.
I'm also joined by the other Paul, Mr. Paul Washington. How are we doing?
Good.
And saving the best for last, of course, is... Oh no, I've already introduced myself, haven't I? Who else? Oh, yeah. Amanda.
Hi.
Our Little Miss Sunshine.
Yeah.
Yep. Cheery and bright.
Yes. on this cold November eve. So, how is everyone doing?
Awesome.
Depressed.
Oh, Paul.
Post holiday depression. But we've already started planning our next one, so that's cheering me up.
Post holiday blues sounds like a Bob Dylan song, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And it'll probably be crap, just like most of his output. Yeah, complaints straight directly to me if you want to complain about Bob Dylan. Now, if you want to join in with us, we always start the show with a drink. Unfortunately, while I'd love to know what you are drinking, I can't hear your response. So, now you know what? In fact, I'm going to ask you now, dear listener, what are you having to drink tonight, or today, or in the morning, whatever it is? But what are you having to drink now? Shout it out. Excellent. And what I, of course, hope to happen is that I'll be stuck on a train somewhere and somebody will shout out gin and tonic or something. And I know exactly they're listening to our podcast. But what is everybody else drinking?
I'm drinking cider today.
Cider, not Sidler?
No, not that fancy. Just a Copperberg.
It's really not fancy. It's Stella Artois cider. They've just got a fancy name. Fair enough. What flavour Copperberg?
Strawberry and lime.
Strawberry and
Nice.
lime.
One of my personal favourites.
Mr.
Yeah.
D.
No, I'm detoxing, definitely. We OD'd on all sorts of things last week, sugar especially. So I'm just on the peppermint tea.
Peppermint tea.
Yeah, lovely.
Mr. Washington.
My training plan for my next half marathon started, so I'm on the water.
Very good. Some people would say hell no H2O, but not on this show. I couldn't get Old Faithful today, and I didn't have any beer in the fridge, so instead I've got a bottle of regular Pepsi Max, similar to Cherry Pepsi Max, without the cherry flavour. So cheers, everybody.
Cheers.
Now, as we mentioned, Mr. D has, well, and as you'd have not heard his voice, Mr. D has been away. And he's been away in one of our many second homes, that of Orlando. Now, Paul, this was kind of... was a trip mainly based around your daughter? Or, the wheels weren't in motion before that, were they?
No, that's right. Yeah. So, young background is youngest daughter Heather applied for the cultural rep program at Epcot. So the people that you see in the various pavilions, the UK pavilion, they apply for the cultural rep program, and if they get accepted, they work there for 12 months. So Heather was lucky enough to get accepted. It's quite a long process, and she started in September. As soon as we knew she was going to be up there, everybody jumped on the bandwagon. So me, wife, elder daughter's fiance, and my sister, who's never actually been to the States before, let alone a Disney park. So that was all a new experience for her.
Wow.
So that was the cast, if you like.
Why is she not here? Why is she not on this podcast?
Don't know. I haven't got a good answer to that. Could certainly get her on in the future.
It's always good to hear of a Disney first timer.
Yeah.
So how long was your trip for in total?
We were there for 14 nights, and we flew from Gatwick. We lived pretty close to Gatwick, so it was quite easy to get there. Flew BA. Flight was fine. It was all good. And we stayed at All Star Music for the 2 weeks. And that was kind of interesting because in the past, when we started going, we always stayed in the Value Resort. So All Star Movies, Music, Sport, and Pop Century. We stayed in all of them.
All Star Pool.
All Star Pool, yeah. On in various places, including Twitter and the Dis boards and places like that. But because of free dining, the last quite a few times we've been is we've done Old Key West a couple of times, as people will know if they're regular listeners, and French Quarter. So it's been a while since we've been at a Value Resort, and I was a little bit worried about what I was going to think about that, or what people were gonna feel about that. I gotta say, I was actually really pleasantly surprised. I mean, I did a little bit of research. There isn't much of a difference between the Value Resorts, but if you look at the various reviews, the music comes out slightly higher because it has been, the rooms have been refurbished fairly recently. We did actually visit the food courts in Movies and Sports as well through the 2 weeks. I would say that Movies is on a par with music. I'd say that Sports, which is the first Value Resort, is maybe a little bit more basic. But generally, I was quite impressed. If you just need a base for 2 weeks, the resorts are well cared for. You got a couple of pools, fairly decent sized pools. Food court is good. They don't have a table service restaurant. There's no gym or anything like that. Bus services was fine as much as we used it. We did have a car, but we did use the buses sometimes. So really, generally, quite pleased. You're getting all the benefits of staying on site. The rooms are a little bit smaller, but perfectly adequate. 2 queen-size beds. Got all the facilities, including a little fridge and TV and all of those kind of things. So yeah, pleasantly surprised by just how well cared for the Value Resorts were.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, have any of you guys stayed at any other Value Resorts? Have you got any?
No.
Pop Century is the only one that I've stayed in. And I really liked it, to be honest. I mean, the rooms weren't much, but I've always my attitude towards hotels is I'm there to sleep.
Yeah.
And as long as it's clean and fairly quiet, then I don't really care that much about it. I mean, it's good too, because I mean, none of the I don't think any of the Values have fridges, do they?
They do now, yeah. They didn't used to. Yeah, they do now. So you've got a little built-in fridge.
Yeah.
Big screen, flat screen TV, iron board. That's about it really. Fairly sort of standard. It is really a standard American hotel room, but it's got the theming. The bedspreads and the artwork and things like that are all Disney, and the resorts have got the big. The buildings have got the big characters. So All-Star Music, it was a combination of music themed with Disney. So the pool has got a kind of central centerpiece, which has got the 3 cavalieros playing their instruments, for example. Everything is Disney themed. There are hidden Mickeys in the railings and different places, so you do feel part of Disney World. You get the same benefits, extra magic hours, you get the free transport, free parking, because you're an on-site guest. You get all the same benefits, and to some extent, if you're going to be hitting the parks quite hard, then paying a lot more for a moderate or a deluxe resort, it's questionable, whether that's really good value for money. Because if you've got lots of facilities like gyms and volleyball and things like that, and you don't use them, then kind of what's the point, really? But
I really agree with you on that, because I mean the one thing that, so for we obviously have listeners that know the Florida parks quite well, and we have other listeners that may never have gone to Florida but may have gone to Disneyland Paris, and I would say that definitely the most glaring thing for me with regards to the hotels there compared to the hotels in Disney World is the fact, like you say, that the theming is something else. And I love the theming of the All-Star parks, the All-Star resorts, because it's just over the top Disney. You are just surrounded in massive icons, and I like Pop Century's 8 tracks and the giant yo-yos. It's not all just about Disney things; it's that whole thing. And we've got the Mickey Mouse phone. So they've got the massive Mickey Mouse phone they've got at All Stars. We own that phone. So that was nice when we discovered that. I mean, I think that is more important to me than those other things you mentioned, because, like you, if I'm going there for 2 weeks, I'm going to be hitting those parks nearly every day. Yeah. I'm not going to, I'm not one of these people that wants to spend a day playing volleyball or at the gym or using the hotel facilities. I want to be in a theme park. Yeah. Making the most of my time. So I wouldn't miss out. I think the only thing with regards to the other resorts, obviously, if you like that luxury, you'd go for that. But I suppose also the distance. Because getting back to the hotels at the end of the night, obviously it all takes a lot longer the further out you are. So that's the only other thing I suppose to kind of bear in mind.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's certainly true. I mean, All Stars, you're very close to Blizzard Beach and Animal Kingdom, so that's great. You're really close. But Magic Kingdom is a little bit of a hike. It's probably we would typically take the bus to the Magic Kingdom, because otherwise you got to drive to the Ticket and Transportation Centre and then either take a ferry or a monorail. And we did that once or twice. It's okay, but at the end of the night it does take a little bit longer to get back. So we typically would take a bus, and it's probably a 25-minute bus ride from the All-Star to the front gate of the Magic Kingdom. A little bit less for Epcot and quite a bit less for the studios, because you're pretty close to the studios at the All-Star. Very good. I mean, it's got a Disney shop. The cast members are Disney cast members, so you get the same, quality of service if you go to concierge or guest services. And don't get me wrong, we loved Old Key West. We think it's a great resort. But I guess what I'm saying is, if you don't have that kind of money, you can still have a great time in a value resort and still get all the benefits of staying on site.
Yeah.
So it's a good option. Yeah. So we decided to go for the dining plan, even though we'd missed free dining. A little bit controversial. We really did it because we had 5 people plus my younger daughter, and it just does make life a bit easier, So we did it for convenience. So we knew we were probably paying a little bit for that convenience, but it kind of takes the hassle out of it a little bit, you've got the dining plan, you're going to eat in Disney restaurants, and there are some great Disney restaurants. So we did that, and then we had a standard 14-day UK ticket, which interestingly, and I did a little bit of research before I went, when they announced that they were going to shut Disney Quest, they took Disney Quest off of the UK Ultimate ticket, and they gave you the Memory Maker in its place. However, that's been delayed, or I don't know if it's indefinitely delayed or what, but it doesn't look like Disney Quest is going to shut anytime soon.
Well, if you listened to our last episode, Paul, you'd know all about it.
No, I haven't caught up yet. I'm way behind. I'm 2.5 weeks behind. Sorry. But the Ultimate ticket does work in Disney Quest. You can get in Disney Quest with a UK ticket.
Wow,
not a problem at all.
Interesting.
Yeah, we just breezed straight in, and it's exactly the same as it's always been. You know, they haven't upgraded anything, so there are some fun things in there. It does feel a little bit sad, you know, now that you know that it is going to go away. It definitely feels like it's just ticking over, so it's a shame. But just for anybody who's thinking about it, you can use the ticket for there, definitely, 100%, no problem. Just walk in and swipe your Magic Band.
Wow.
Yeah.
Top tip.
So that was good. Top tip, yeah. Another pass-related thing we did was because our Heather's going to be out there for a year, we are going to go back out and see her again. So, self and good lady wife, we decided to investigate the annual pass. So even though we bought a 14-day Ultimate ticket, on the last day, and we did leave it to the last day, we literally walked into guest relations at Epcot and said, you know, we're interested in upgrading. We only had to swipe our Magic Band. They were able to pull up what we had paid for that 14-day ticket and deduct it from the price of an annual pass, and they gave us the annual pass there on the spot. And it's there's a promotion right now where you get 13 months for the price of 12. So we walked in there with about 8 hours left on our Magic Band, and we came out with another 13 months on our Magic Band.
Awesome.
Minus, you know, quite a few $100s. But it felt like a good deal at the time.
Well, to be honest as well, because I mean, I imagine I've never tried to look at packages without tickets, but I suppose if you wanted to do it, you could even probably stay on iDrive if you really wanted to. You know, you're not kind of tied up. You know, the convenience of staying on Disney property is you get your tickets and everything thrown in.
Yeah.
Isn't it? That's the thing.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
You know, you wouldn't have that. You wouldn't have that hassle of doing it. I wonder how much cheaper it would be to stay on Disney property now, knowing that. Like you haven't got to have your tickets.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, some of the packages you need to buy a ticket with them, but again, you know, you can buy so for free dining, I think you've got to buy a ticket, but you can again take that ticket and put it towards an annual pass if you think that's the right thing for you. And obviously, it depends how long you're going to be gone for and how many times you're going to go. But for us, it kind of made sense. To be honest, we didn't save a huge amount of money or anything, but you get some additional benefits. So you get money off merchandise and dining and things like that. It just seemed like the right thing to do for us at the time. But just thought it was interesting. You can walk straight into any guest relations. They can pull up what you paid for your original UK ticket and tell you exactly what the balance is you need to pay for any of the annual passes. And there's about 5 or 6 different passes. So yeah, that worked really well, really easily. You know, it was they were very efficient at taking our money. Put it that way.
Do you get anything like you do in Disneyland Paris? You get discounts on the merchandise and things.
Yeah. They give you a little credit card as well as you know, activating your Magic Band, but you get a little card that you can show, and you get a variety of different benefits. And there's a pass holder website, and you can go on there, and it gives you all the discounts. So typically dining is 10%, but they've got about 45 locations that they're giving 20% off. And that includes some counter service, and then merchandise. You get deals on that, and you get deals on hotels, and you get free parking and those kind of things. So there is a whole website that you can go on. I think the deals change from time to time, but to be honest, we haven't really had a lot of time to check it out. And in terms of room discounts, we're kind of hoping our cast member daughter is going to help us with that. She gets some pretty good discounts.
Her floor.
Yeah.
Just going back to what you were saying before, Amanda, Paul, have either of you done a dining plan before?
I've never done it before. Never seen
Yes, I have.
Okay.
I have. I had it last time.
Was that a free dining package?
Yes, it was.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was. We stayed at Caribbean Beach Resort, so we got just the quick service dining plan.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
and I'd use it again.
Yeah.
I have to be honest.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask, because I mean I've never used it, and I've never thought it would benefit me enough, to be honest. But I can see how it could do. I mean, Paul, I'm guessing. So you was out for 14 days. We know that you did a bit of Universal, which we're going to talk about on Universal After Dark. But how many days were you actually there in Disney?
So to be honest, this time, because of Heather, some days she was working, so we'd be able to see her in the morning, but then she'd start work at 2 or 3 o'clock. So we probably spent more time in Disney on this holiday than we would typically. We spent 2 days in Universal, and then there was a couple of park days where we went into Kissimmee Old Town to see the car cruise and 1 or 2 things like that. But we ate in Universal for probably 11 of the 14 days. Now, that gave us some extra credits, because obviously we've got 14 table service meals and 14 quick service meals and 14 snacks. That gave us some extra credits, but to be honest, we either gave Heather those credits so she could eat with us, because obviously she didn't have a dining plan, or we also did a breakfast. So that day we used 2 table service, 1 for breakfast, 1 for dinner, and then we also did 1 signature restaurant, and that requires 2 table service credits. So we used up everything. We had 0 left at the end. That just isn't in my Scottish nature to let any of that stuff hang. You know what I mean? So yeah, we did visit some really good restaurants. I mean, I don't think people realize just how many table service restaurants Disney had, and the good thing about it is as well that it gets you into some of the resorts. So we visited the Polynesian, we visited the Grand Floridian, we visited the Yacht Club, the Beach Club, the Boardwalk, and those are great things to do anyway. Just some of the resorts are beautiful, and it's just good to kind of walk around them for a little bit.
Can you? I've never thought about this, and I suppose I know the answer to it, but I assume that the hotel restaurants, you can just go and visit without having anything else, can't you? So what I mean by that is you don't need to be staying on property. You don't need to have a Disney park ticket.
No, the only thing that we've noticed is particularly the hotels around the Magic Kingdom, so the monorail hotels, when you drive to the resort, they will, if you drive to the resort, they want to check your Magic Band and make sure you've got a reservation. And the only thing they're trying to avoid there is you using that as free parking and being close to the resort. Okay, so that's the only kind of restriction. If you just want to drive in and park at the Polynesian and say you're going to have a look at the restaurants or whatever, they may ask you to pay $20 to park there. However, if you park at the Ticket and Transportation Centre and get the monorail to the Polynesian to have a look at the restaurant, no problem. I mean, you still need theme park parking, but yeah, there's no problem visiting any of the resorts to look at the restaurants or eat in the restaurants. And I think I've mentioned before, if we're park hopping between, say, the Magic Kingdom and Epcot, sometimes what we'll do is we'll leave the Magic Kingdom at lunchtime and we'll maybe have a counter service lunch or a quick lunch in the the Polynesian or the Grand Floridian and just hang out there for an hour or two and take a rest, and then hop to the next park. So there's certainly no problem doing that. They don't mind. Again, they'll take your money, whatever, in whatever shape or form you want to give it to them.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So we definitely, we had some great meals. We didn't really, have a bad one. I mean, some were better than others, but we did try a couple of new places. So we tried Yachtsman Steakhouse, which is a signature restaurant, for the first time. Never been there. Had one of the best steaks I've ever had in my life. It was absolutely fantastic. Nice restaurant, places, good service. The only thing that was bizarre was myself and Kerry, my wife, we shared a 32-ounce porterhouse steak, right? Which sounds massive, but actually it's got a big bone in it. So when you take the bone out and then split it in half, it's probably about a 10-ounce, 12-ounce steak, but it is absolutely fantastic. Now, this 32-ounce steak, it comes with 3 sides, I think. Yeah. So one is like sauteed mushrooms, sauteed onions, and then you get these French fries, which are coated in vinegar powder. So it's fancy French fries, if you like. The French fries came, and it was the tiniest little portion of French fries you've ever seen. Now, normally in a Disney restaurant, if you said, could I have some extra French fries, they'd say, yeah, no problem. But they actually wouldn't give us any extra French fries. Now, that steak was $116.
Wow.
For 2 people, admittedly. But on the menu, obviously we were on the dining plan, but on the menu, it was $116 for that steak. And they wouldn't give us an extra portion of fries. And we had about 8 fries each. I kid you not. That bugged me a little bit. But
absolutely.
That was my only complaint. Apart from that, everything else about that meal was excellent. So really enjoyed that one. We also tried Splitsville at Disney Springs for the first time.
Oh.
That one's, the bowling alley. That one split the crowd. So, yeah. Oh, yeah. I didn't even realize that. That was unintentional. No, it really did. We had some people who had some cold food, and we complained, and they replaced it without any problem. So they were great about that, but should never have been cold in the first place. And then probably half the table really enjoyed the meal, and it is relatively inexpensive for Disney. So, like a main course was about $16-18, which isn't too bad.
Cheaper
and
than
the desserts. Well, yeah, and it's cheaper than the steak, yeah, and they're massive portions. I had a pizza that was, huge, and then the desserts are huge and very, very good. So, personally, I really enjoyed it. I think we'd go back and give it another chance. We just had a couple of little issues with, how quickly the food came and the temperature of it, but certainly give it another go, I think. Yeah. So just looking through the parks, and really just wanted to talk about the things that we did for the first time. So last time we were there was 2014. So what was new since 2014? In Epcot, we saw the new Soarin' ride. Amanda, Paul, have you seen that? The new Soarin' film? Yeah. What did you think of it?
Well, I talked about this on one of the last episodes where I sat on the side and everything was bent on the screen.
Yeah?
Yeah, so I felt like that ruined it a bit for me, because I don't really remember noticing it that much before with the old one. Yeah. But it was really, really bad this time.
The good news, though, Paul, is that the Leaning Tower of Pisa was straight.
But the Eiffel Tower was bent.
Like crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I was quite happy because they kept the pre-show film, which I thought was quite a nice little thing with Patrick, and they kept the music. I think they've tweaked the music a little bit, but it was the same basic music, so I was pretty happy about that. And the film generally I really liked. I thought it was a good upgrade, and obviously the definition of the film and the quality of the film is a lot better. You don't have the dead flies stuck on the projector and things like that. The only kind of little niggle I had was, so a couple of the animals are CGI because they have to be. You couldn't get them to act that perfectly. But the Taj Mahal scene, sorry if this is a spoiler for anybody, but the Taj Mahal scene, I thought that was really CGI. The others didn't bother me, but that one just kind of stood out as being definitely CGI. But overall, it was a hit with us as a family. We liked it, thought it was good. But we didn't sit off to the side, so that's interesting, Amanda.
Mm.
Yeah. And then we did the Frozen ride. So what used to be Maelstrom in the Norway Pavilion is now Frozen. I think a lot of people know that. We had some fast passes for that, so we rode that twice, I think. It's the same basic ride system as before, same boat ride. The scenes I thought were amazing. So the animatronic, I guess it's almost animated because it's part animatronic and then part projection, like the dwarfs on the main train ride. So the faces actually are animated and move. And I thought they were excellent. I thought they were absolutely outstanding. Again, my only little niggle was some of the connecting scenes, so the transitions from one scene to another, I thought were a little bit basic and, could have been... They didn't spend much money on the transition points. I think the main scenes were great, but those were a little bit lacking, I thought. But hey, it's very, very popular, so it's obviously doing quite well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you and Chris both liked it, didn't you, Amanda? You and Chris both liked it.
Yeah. Soren?
No, Frozen.
Frozen ride. Yeah, we looked at Frozen. Sorry. I read it. Yeah, we looked at the Frozen ride. I think it was so worth the 90-minute wait, and I've never said that about a ride.
90 minutes, wow, yeah.
Yeah.
Did you fast pass it, Paul?
Yeah, we fast passed it, yeah.
I couldn't get a fast pass no matter how hard I tried. I just couldn't get one.
Yeah, I mean, it was very, very popular. But yeah, we fast passed it. I think we waited 10 minutes, but
wow.
I don't know, 90 minutes. I'm not sure I would have waited 90 minutes for it. It was good, and I did really like it. But yeah, we probably would have waited 90 minutes if that had been our only opportunity to see it, because I definitely wanted to try it.
I mean, every time we went to Epcot, we were like, we are definitely doing this ride today. We are not leaving until we've done it. And then it was like 3 hours every single time.
Yeah.
And then on our last day, we were like, we're going to have to do it. We don't have a choice.
Yeah. So, I mean, that was the new stuff. When we were at Epcot, Food and Wine was on. And we've been to Food and Wine, but it was a long, long time ago. It was probably in the early days of Food and Wine. And I just can't believe how much it's grown. And the park was heaving every day. I mean, that is just... I was quite shocked at just how popular it is. Even on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, it didn't have to be a weekend. At 12 noon, the Food and Wine Festival is packed. And I would have to say that, I've got a touring plan subscription. So before we went, I checked out the touring plans crowd calendar. And it gives it a rating of 1 to 10, 10 being, really busy like Christmas Day. And the ratings were generally, 4s, 5s, and 6s. And in actual fact, now that we're back, you can go back and look at retrospectively what the crowd levels were. And they were actually 7s, 8s, and 9s. And, for the beginning of November, that just seems incredible to me. And this is where I wanted to get on my soapbox just a little bit. The hours that the park are open are reduced during that time period. So, typically the parks aren't open as late as they would be during the summer, and they don't open quite as early. So, most parks are opening 8 or 9, but sometimes the parks are shutting at, 6, 7, 8. Longer on a weekend, so there was a couple of later nights on the weekend. But when you've got Food and Wine on, and then on top of that, they added the race weekend for Food and Wine, which made it even busier again. Then you've got the Halloween parties, which run straight into the Christmas parties at the Magic Kingdom. So there's evenings that you can't access the Magic Kingdom unless you've got a ticket. Then one night we were there and they were filming for the Christmas show, which made it really busy again. Okay, it was good atmosphere, but it's making it really busy. And then they've got quite a few things down for refurbishment. So when we were there, Big Thunder Mountain was down, Dinosaur was down, Rock and Roller Coaster was down, Stitch was down. That wasn't any big loss. But then you've got Blizzard Beach, which is shut as well. So you've only got one water park, and they're still charging you full whack. I guess my kind of if there's anybody from Disney listening, I think you got to kind of look at your strategy there, because the strategy has been create all these events to drive people into the parks and drive attendance and hotel fill rates, and that's great. It's been really successful. But then to cut back the park hours and refurb everything, or a lot of the big rides at the same time, it didn't feel quite right to me, you know.
That seems like a lot to be down all at once.
Yeah, I certainly thought so. I mean, when we were in the studios, it really didn't feel. You know, people used to say that the studios were a half-day park, and I never agreed with that. But now that they've taken up quite a lot of stuff for Star Wars, and then with Rock and Roller Coaster being down, for us, you know, there was really only Tower of Terror, Toy Story, and I guess you could say Great Movie Ride, but the rest of it was shows, and you don't want to do show after show after show after show. You know, you want to be breaking that up with some rides as well.
What were the queues like for Tower of Terror then? Because when I was there and Rock and Roller Coaster was open, I've never seen the queues for those two rides as long as what they were. They were like consistently at least 70 minutes every day.
Yeah, I would agree. I would say that, you know, typically you would, in the past, we've walked up to Tower of Terror and it's been a walk on. Or they've got that little 13, you know, little jokey 13-minute wait time. No, I mean, if you didn't have a fast pass, you were probably looking at least a 40-minute, 60, 70-minute wait for Tower of Terror. Toy Story Midway Mania, definitely adding the extra track has brought down the wait times, but still 40, 50, 60 minutes, you know? Okay, it used to be 2 hours, but it's an improvement. But yeah, all the parts were really busy. Magic Kingdom was really busy. You had to stay right to the end to get a walk on. If you wanted a 20-minute wait, you either had to be there first thing in the morning or be there late at night. And, you know, we've gone in August and it's been, the wait times have been less than they were in November. And that just seems crazy to me. Mm-hmm. You know, it was really busy. And you could say we were lucky or we were unlucky, but every time we went to the Magic Kingdom, there was something on. So, one time we went, it was the Chicago Cubs, so they had won the World Series, and guess what? They'd all come to Disney World to see us, to see the Dolans. That was great, you know.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Thank you very much, Chicago Cubs, you know. And then we thought, okay, fine, Chicago Cubs are here, we'll enjoy that. So we did, you know, we kind of watched what was going on. They had a big photo shoot right in the middle of the hub, or by the hub, and Mickey was dressed in a Chicago Cubs a baseball uniform, and so was Goofy, and it was quite fun for a little bit of time. But again, the park was packed and the wait times were really high. So then we thought, okay, we'll come back in a couple of nights. A couple of nights later, we come back and they're filming the Christmas special. So they got Boyz II Men and JoJo and all sorts of people performing on stage, which again, you think, great, we watched them for a little bit and it was quite fun for 5 or 10 minutes. But the park was absolutely rammed, and wait times were up at, you know, hour and a half and that sort of thing. So yeah, it was a really busy time. It didn't spoil it. You know, we've been there enough that we had little strategies, and we were there for 2 weeks, so it was long enough to get on everything we wanted to get on. But I think if that was your first holiday, and you know you were gone there in November thinking it was going to be really quiet, you'd be a bit shocked, I think.
Do you think, going back to the studio talk, do you think that maybe what they've done is they've tried to make Hollywood studios the equivalent of Walt Disney Studios in Paris. So we've always, everyone's always talked about it being a half-day park, and they thought they'd follow suit.
Yeah, I don't think they've done it deliberately. I mean, Star Wars Land is going to be massive, and the little Toy Story thing is going to add as well. I don't think that's going to be massive, but it's a huge area they've got. We actually got a look. There's an overpass. We just happened to be driving around the back of the studios, and there's an overpass, and from that overpass you can see into the area, and you get a look at just how big it is. From inside the park, it's hard to tell how big it is, but man, it's a huge area, so it is going to be great. But in the interim, they've put some extra things in there. There's quite a good little Star Wars show on the center stage in front of the Chinese theater, and they've put a thing called the Launch Bay in, which is a kind of walk through Star Wars exhibit, and you've obviously got the Frozen sing along. So they've tried to plus it up a little bit. You've got the Star Wars fireworks at night as well. They've tried to plus it up, but that isn't the same as an e-ticket ride,
No.
like a rock roller coaster or a Tower of Terror. So yeah, I think, for the next couple of years, the studios, you're not going to get full value for money, I don't think, out of the studios. Still a good park, still love it, but it is a bit impacted right now.
I wonder if that's another reason why maybe Disney Quest is still being accessible on the passes.
Could be. I mean, the only thing is they're not pushing that. They're not telling people that you can.
But they're not pushing Disney Quest, are they?
Still use it. No,
they're
not.
I think the thing is, yes, they're not going to push it, but at the same time, maybe that's why it's still active.
Yeah.
I don't know. It seems odd that they announced it. They've kind of made it out that it was taken away, but yet it still appears to work.
Yeah.
So interesting.
Yeah. I mean, other observation, like I said, there was a race weekend when we were there, and boy, that is big as well. I didn't realise how big that event is and how many people that draws into the park.
Yeah.
And the other thing I didn't realise is just how big the medals are that you get for running one of those races. They are enormous. I don't know, Paul, when you ran your race, did you get one of those big clunking medals? I mean, they're fantastic looking things.
I've got 5 hanging on the wall.
Yeah.
Because I did my first half was the Wine and Dine 2 years ago.
Right. Yeah.
So, and yeah, that one was bigger. Then I've got the 4. In fact, it's 6 medals because I got the 4 virtual ones and then the Paris one, and they're all the same size.
Right. I mean, they are nicely made. They look nicely made things, and there were people there who had 4 medals. So they've obviously run. I don't know, what is it? The 5K, the 10K, the half marathon, and the marathon.
And the challenge. No, there was a challenge.
Right.
There was the Lumiere challenge, which was the 10 and the half.
Yeah. I think I had to run for a bus one day, but I didn't get a medal for it. But that was the only running I did. But I certainly admired, the medals. I thought they were pretty impressive. But there were literally thousands of people walking around all day with medals on. You think, wow, this is a big deal. This Run Disney thing, and there's just publicity for it everywhere. It's just become huge.
I just think, back in the 70s and for some of the 80s, the only people you used to see walking around with medals on, certainly in the UK at least, were people that had gone and seen that man in a tracksuit on BBC One on his TV show.
Yeah.
We've mentioned his name quite enough this year, so I'll leave it there.
Now then.
Now you said that it was your sister's first time to a Disney park. Well, first of all, what did she make of America?
Oh, she didn't see America. She only saw Disney World.
No,
we kind of joked about that. I mean, literally, she saw theme parks and not a lot else. But yeah, I think she was blown away. I mean, she'd done a little bit of research. She's a bit like me. She's a bit of a planner. So she had done quite a bit of research before we went, but it didn't prepare her for just how big the place is. The first thing we got there, I said, okay, we're this is us entering Walt Disney World, and you go under that big sign, the big arch. And 20 minutes later, we still haven't arrived at our hotel. She just couldn't get her head around that. So yeah, I think it was the scale, the organization, just the complexity of it. Even the transport system with the buses and the monorail and the boats. It's all on a massive scale, really, and I think that's what really kind of blew her away. She'd expected something like a kind of Alton Towers, There's a car park, you drive up, you park your car, and then you walk to the front gate and you're in, And obviously it's nothing like that.
Well, I think that's the thing when people talk about how expensive Disney is. I think that's when you look at the comparisons, and like even Disneyland Paris isn't Alton Towers.
Yeah.
And actually, they're not that dissimilar in price. Actually, so it's not a very fair comparison. It's not a very accurate comparison. But yeah, I mean, when I talked about how big everything, the scale of everything for me, it was like you say that the distance from when you hit the arch to hit the actual park or your hotel, but also as well, it was the streets. It was how big everything was.
Yeah.
England feels like such a small place when you've been to America, anywhere in America pretty much.
Yeah.
Just everything's on a much bigger scale because it can be, I suppose.
Yeah.
But even crossing the road on iDrive seems a lot more strenuous than crossing the road over here, for example. But yeah, but she really enjoyed the parks then.
Yeah, she did. Yeah, I mean, we did give her, we did what we normally do on holiday, but that meant that she did see a lot. And it wasn't just the 4 parks. We obviously did the 4 parks, but we did Typhoon Lagoon. Blizzard Beach was closed, unfortunately, for refurb. But we spent some time at the boardwalk, and then we did visit a lot of the resorts. So. She saw the Polynesian, she saw the Grand Floridian, she saw the Yacht Club, the Beach Club, the Boardwalk, the Contemporary. We also, as part of the package, we had mini golf, so we did mini golf the mini golf is still open at Blizzard Beach, even though the water park's shut. So we did the mini golf at Blizzard Beach, and then we did the mini golf up by Fantasia Gardens, and then we did Disney Springs, and obviously that was a new thing for us because the whole Disney Springs thing has happened since we were last there. So she got to see pretty much everything that there was to see, whereas I think a lot of people maybe don't get to the boardwalk or, don't have time for the mini golf or don't have time for the water parks. They concentrate on the 4 main parks. So, she did really get a good feel for the whole kind of place and just the scale of it and the size of it. I mean, one thing I couldn't believe was just like Disney Springs, they've done a fantastic job with that center section of what used to be downtown Disney. It does. I mean, it's shopping and dining ultimately, but it is quite high end, and they've done a great job of it. But they've built these multi-story car parks where it just used to be a flat parking lot, and those things are enormous. I mean, I don't know how many cars they hold, but you've really got to be careful, make sure you know where you parked your car, because otherwise you could spend a lot of time walking up and down looking for your car. But yeah, they've just the scale and the size of the place. I think that's what impressed her the most. And then I think the other thing was she expected it to be just either a lot of little kiddie rides, like It's a Small World, or a lot of big roller coasters. And I think she didn't expect things like Wishes or Illuminations or some of the stage shows like the Finding Nemo show or the Beauty and the Beast show and things like that. So I think just the kind of the variety of entertainment and things that you can do, I think that blew her away as well.
Well, it's funny because we talked about Disney Springs with Chris and Amanda having been there, and also we talked last week on the show about this new nighttime spectacular they're doing that's going to involve drones, because Disney have now been given clearance, literally and metaphorically, to use drones as part of nighttime entertainment. So there's, I think, when's it start, Amanda? Is it next week?
I think so, yeah, off the top of my head.
And but there's actually been some video release of a preview. They've been doing some testing, and has anyone seen it yet?
No.
It was only today I saw it. Really, really interesting, because I wasn't really sure what to expect with, you hear drones and you know what a drone is, but how they're going to use it. And basically, what they're doing is they're using lights on the drone to make images in the sky.
Yeah.
All
So
right.
if you think about it, so like one of the things they do is a Christmas tree. So what happens is these lights synchronize to literally draw a Christmas tree in the sky. So it's really, like, at first it almost looks a little bit like, with some of the things they're doing with the lights and how they're flickering and stuff like that, it was almost a little bit reminiscent of fireworks in a strange way, but then they were just trying to make pictures with the lights, and it looks pretty fascinating. So Disney Springs is not just about a shopping destination. They're trying to make it a bit more of an all-round experience, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds really interesting. I mean, they're definitely using technology. The whole kind of Magic Band experience and RFID technology does seem to be picking up a pace. It's all pretty seamless now. How the Magic Band works with the app. It did enhance the experience, I think, for us. The only thing is, I'm a bit old school, really, and you do end up spending quite a lot of time on your phone. I mean, everybody on the park is on phones all the time, whether it be checking the app, looking for a fast pass, or whether it be taking pictures or uploading stuff to Facebook. And it does get a little bit ridiculous. And I will tell a story here. We were going to watch Wishes for the first time, and they've redone the hub. So in the hub, you've got little walls now. You've got little raised flower gardens, and there was a family of three. So mum, dad, and teenage daughter, who was an utter brat, by the way. And they were sitting on the wall, and we stood right behind them. We said, "You okay? We're going to stand here. You okay with that?" And they said, "Yeah, that's fine." And when Wishes started, so we were there about 30 minutes before Wishes. The whole time we were there, they hardly spoke to each other and were constantly on their own phones, right? And then when Wishes started, each one of them videoed the whole of Wishes on their own phone, right? And the mother wasn't just videoing it; she'd video, say, like 20 seconds, and then post it on Facebook. Then she'd video another 20 seconds and post that on Instagram. Then she'd video another 20, and so she was going through all her social media live. And so you got TVs, you got phone screens in front of you, waving about all over the place when you're trying to watch Wishes, and it's just ridiculous. I mean, it is over. It's gone crazy, really.
Plus, the thing as well is I've yet to see really decent video of a nighttime show. Well, video, I suppose, is better, but like trying to take a picture of like a fireworks show is just a nightmare.
Yeah.
Like, it's so hard to get a decent picture. And I learnt this. So the thing is now, when I go and watch something like that, so if I go and see Disney Dreams or something, for example, I won't sit there trying to take pictures. There's no point.
Yeah.
I might record it one night, because sometimes it's nice to look back on your holiday and everything like that. Although I always try and have a look around me to see what if I'm affecting anybody, because I'm quite conscious of that, which is probably unusual, because most people just stick an iPad in the air or something like that to block everyone's view. But I wouldn't do that if it's the only time I'm watching it. So if I'm only able to watch it, I probably won't film it. If I know I'm going to be seeing it, a couple of times at least during a trip, then I don't mind watching it one night and videoing it another time.
Yeah.
But I think if you're only going to see it once, watch it, enjoy it.
Well, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm the same. I don't mind. I don't mind people videoing it. That's fine. I've done that. It's good. But all three of you don't need to video it.
Not from different angles. Jesus, no.
No, and one thing I will say is that Disney have banned selfie sticks. We knew that. That's old news. But I did see them enforce that. We did see somebody try and get in with a selfie stick and was knocked back. And so we didn't see. I don't think we saw any, or maybe we saw one or two selfie sticks that people had sneaked in. And I'm so glad they've done that, because when you're trying to watch Wishes or Fantasmic or something like that, it's bad enough that people have got phones in front of you, but if they've got phones and iPads at high level, then that's just not on, really.
No.
Yeah.
So, last thing I wanted to kind of ask you on your trip and that was, how did it make you feel to see your daughter as a cast member?
It was amazing. Yeah, it's a really good question, Nick. But the first time we saw her at the Rose and Crown. She was there's like a podium there where they welcome people to take them into the Rose and Crown. And that was the first place that we saw her. And there were about 5 or 6 of them. And she's got this Rose and Crown uniform or costume. And it was just amazing. It was really good. And then, we met some of our new friends, our new cast member friends, and they were great. All kids from the UK and Ireland. We talked to a couple of our managers. One of the managers had never met us before, just gave us a bunch of fast passes, said, enjoy these. They'd kind of worked together so that although Heather wasn't serving us in the restaurant, she's not a server yet, but she'd worked it so that we had a table right on the lake, so we watched illuminations from a front row table. It was great. But just seeing her there, it was fantastic. It was quite emotional, really. I was quite very proud and really happy for her, because she's enjoying it. She's working hard, but she's enjoying it as well.
Yeah, that's great. It's funny. I've actually never eaten in the Rose and Crown. We had takeaway from the Rose and Crown when we was waiting for Illuminations. One night, but I've never actually really gone in there. I just stuck my head in once. But, it's obviously on the to-do list when we go back.
It's funny, we were the same. We've been quite a few times now, and we've never eaten at the Rose and Crown, because we've always thought, well, if we want fish and chips, we can get fish and chips back home. Let's do something different.
You think that? You think that? Well, if you have the fish and chips and the Rose and Crown, you realise that they're nothing like they are back home.
No, they are different, but they were good. That's pretty much everybody had fish and chips. I made the mistake of having chicken tikka masala. Not that there was anything wrong with it. It was fine. It was good. But I wish I'd had the fish and chips anyway.
Nah, I've got to be honest. I'm not a big fan of the fish and chips there.
Yeah,
it's not horrible, but I suppose when you are looking for what you believe is fish and chips, to what they have there, it's not the same.
Yeah.
So, but no, I mean, it was nothing wrong with it. I mean, it tasted nice enough. It just wasn't what I was looking for.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I once made a song about it. I don't know if you've ever heard it, but
what, fish and chips or the Rose and Crown?
No, well, about the fish and chips at the Rose and Crown, because he really wanted some, and he said, no, it's not right, I'm going to have to go somewhere else, and then he recorded, still haven't found what I'm looking for, so there you go. True story about that song. I'm not sure if this is before you left, Paul, actually, but Disneyland Paris put a press release out about the 25th anniversary next year, and their new nighttime show is called Illuminations.
Right.
But it's got nothing to do with the Epcot one.
Is that a castle show then? Is that a castle light show? Do you think?
As far from what they've shown, yes, it will be. It looks like it's just an evolution of Dreams.
Yeah.
To be honest,
sure.
Just a bit more oomph.
Yeah. Well, the interesting thing is when we were there, I can't remember the name of the new show, but the Celebrate the Magic, which was the previous castle show, that finished one week, and the new show started the next week. So we actually saw both shows.
Oh, that's so good.
Yeah.
Yeah. We were just lucky; it just landed right for us. And they were both good. They were different. I wouldn't say one was better than the other. They were both really, really good. So we enjoyed both of them thoroughly. The new show. It's kind of interesting. it featured Beauty and the Beast quite a bit, and obviously there's the new live action Beauty and the Beast coming up. It was the animated Beauty and the Beast. But yeah, I thought the Celebrate the Magic was a great show, and I thought the new show was just as good but different.
Well, because Beauty and the Beast is 25 this year? No. Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah,
1991, yeah. So there's been a lot of merchandise, hasn't there, out about it. I know because we've been buying bits and pieces with my daughter. But what a great way to segue into the next part of the show, Paul, because I was going to ask everybody here if they've seen the new Beauty and the Beast trailer.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, we are talking, when we say trailer, we are talking about a movie trailer for the new film, not something that hooks onto your pickup truck. That is something else. But what do we think?
I think it looks amazing. I'm not usually massively into the live action ones, but I think this one looks really, really, really good. And real life Gaston looks super good.
P-dubs?
I like the look of it. I'm not convinced on Emma Watson as Belle, though.
A lot of people have said they still see Hermione, which, is it much of a surprise? Because she still looks like Hermione, because that was her face. Do you know what I mean? I don't really know what else. That's like seeing Daniel Radcliffe and saying, it looks like Harry Potter. Because it is. You know. If you see if you go and watch an episode of Cracker, you don't think, Hagrid, because he didn't have a massive bushy beard. But with the people playing those roles, there was nothing to really stop them looking any different, unless they put a massive beard on Belle. You know.
There's a joke in there somewhere, but I'm not going for it.
I was going to say, there clearly is, but I didn't want it to either. I honestly think, having seen it, there is no way it is going to be as good as that trailer made it out to be. And that's not because I don't want it to be, but because, like you, Amanda, I have not had any interest in the live action films. I saw
Jungle Book?
Jungle Book I really liked, actually. Jungle Book I really liked. I saw bits of Cinderella and didn't do anything for me. You know, looked nice, but just wasn't interested. What was the one before that?
Maleficent, but that was...
Was it?
I don't know if that was the absolute one before it, but I was just trying to think of all the live action ones.
Yeah, I think you might be right. I don't think there was another princess film, was there? That was live action.
No.
We had Alice in Wonderland, but that wasn't really, that was a different story in my opinion.
Yeah.
But yes, you're probably right, Maleficent, and we all know how I felt about that one. But because I thought it looked bloody good. Like, I really think it looks good. When I first saw the pictures of Lumiere and Cogsworth, I wasn't convinced. And having seen Mrs. Potts and Chip and seeing more of those characters, actually I think they've done it really, really well. Gaston, I think, is great. I'm with you on that. I think is it LeFou?
LeFou, yeah.
Yeah. I like Josh Gad anyway, but I think that's great casting. So he looks good in the role, and I even like the look of Beast. I think they've done the best they could with that, really. The trailer made it look brilliant, but I just don't see how it can live up to it. I hope it does. I don't want it not to, but I just think it looks so much better than I think anyone could have believed it to. So I don't know, but definitely exciting times ahead. So yeah.
I haven't seen it yet. I haven't seen the trailer. Somebody told me that it was good, so I need to go and watch that immediately after this podcast.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
There was other trailers out. I would have talked about Ghost in the Shell, but Ghost in the Shell is now no longer a Disney film. It was going to be a Disney and DreamWorks film, but they that relationship ended, so I can't talk about Ghost in the Shell, but check that out. That looks good as well. But the other news that I wanted to talk about was last week Disneyland Paris announced its financial results for the year. And the good news, Disneyland Paris fans, is it's set a new record in the last year.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it was for the record losses.
Yeah.
Anyone want to guess at what those record losses were for the last year?
Approximately lots.
Oh yeah. But come on, let's play a game of higher and lower. Let's hazard a guess.
$300 million.
Okay.
Is it dollars or euros?
Euros.
Okay, euros. Let's say 200 million euros.
200 million euros. Okay. Amanda?
No idea. Like, I wouldn't even know where to start.
Well, Paul started, so you can go higher or lower.
I don't think I've got any idea, Amanda. That's
Okay,
completely random. Could be £2.50 for all I know.
Oh no, record losses. It's gonna be big.
Okay, I'll say less than Paul.
Less than.
But I don't know what to say.
Okay, less than 200. That's like the Price is Right rules. I like what you're doing. So
lower.
Less than 200 million. Okay, P-dubs.
I think it's higher.
Okay, roughly.
I think it was about 350 mil.
350 mil. If you were right, then I think everyone would be a lot more happier than they actually are, because the actual loss was 858 million euros.
They can't sustain that.
That is exactly the point.
Yeah.
Absolutely, you're spot on. Don't get me wrong. While we do try and this show is a bit of fun and try and make light of things, this isn't good news, and no one's happy to hear that. I'm definitely not as a big fan of the parks, but horrendous. I mean, obviously they've called out on the fact that the end of last year, this time last year actually, this week was when they had the Bataclan shootings. And that night of terror in Paris, and the parks were closed for a few days. It's not the parks being closed for a few days, obviously, that's had that effect. It's the fact that with that situation, it's meant that less people have been coming in. Now, I mean, it's not by much. I mean, the actual visitors hasn't decreased as much as you'd think. We're still looking at, I think it was 12 million people-ish come through the gates in the last year. So it's not like it's not like it's dropped lots. I think the year before was about 13, so maybe about a million or so less. But it's not like the parks have suddenly gone from millions of people to hundreds of thousands. It's still a lot of people visiting. But like you say, it can't. And I mean, Disneyland Paris were on the verge of bankruptcy a few years ago, and that wasn't the first time. And you have to wonder how many times this is going to be allowed to happen to do it. The Disney company doesn't own Disneyland Paris. We pointed it out before, and it's one of the reasons that there's things like the Shareholders Club, and that was to do with the original agreement with signing the rights to the park and French law and blah blah blah. But as you say, almost every year the park operates at about 100 million euro loss. Now, it's not sustainable. So there's a few things. Firstly, do we think that things will be allowed to change and that Disney can fully own the park? That's one thing that people are suggesting. I mean, I think it's definitely the situation Disneyland would like to be in. I think that's probably the best all round, because as with any big corporation, it can offset things if that's the case, with some of the other parks and other ventures. another thing that's being touted around is seasonal operation. Now, we were talking about, we literally talked about this last week, not with Disneyland Paris, but with Alton Towers and Thorpe Park, didn't we? Where, those parks close around bonfire night and reopen around Easter time.
Yeah, surely wouldn't that just work in the opposite way? Because all the people that can't go to theme parks in England when, out of season, would then go to parks like Disneyland Paris?
Well, yeah, and let's look at it as well, not just like that, but also, Disneyland's probably busiest times a year are, the summer season and the Halloween run up and Christmas run up. So, if you were to close the park seasonally, what would you do? Because you wouldn't want to close at Halloween and miss out on Christmas. It's a big season for them.
Exactly.
So I don't know. It's but something's gonna have to be done.
Yeah.
I think that's it. So time will tell. And I think the 25th anniversary is going to be a very, very pivotal year for Disneyland Paris in more ways than one. So yeah. And just one other quick thing I wanted to mention before we end the show. A little bit of news that's been breaking the last 24 hours or so is that rumours are ever increasing that Disney are looking to acquire Netflix.
What?
Yep.
That's weird.
Now I thought yeah. It's not that this has come out of nowhere, but I think there was a meeting with Bob Iger and one of the co-founders of Netflix last week that spurred this on even more. But basically, and it's more of an American thing than it is a UK thing, but it's looking more and more that there's going to be more on-demand content than cable services. So in the UK, really, we have Sky, and then you have Virgin Cable has a little bit of a presence, and BT has a bit of a presence, and Talk has a bit of a TV presence. But Sky is kind of still the one-stop shop for a lot of people. And the last few years, we've had, Amazon Prime, we've had Netflix. We also have Now TV, which is Sky, but on-demand Sky. So things are definitely moving that way. But in America, it's really, really taking a turn. And actually, Time Warner have bought DirecTV. And they're going to try and move people away from the usual cable packages to this online platform where they'll be able to have access to things like Game of Thrones and all of the HBO content and everything else that Time Warner own as well as what DirecTV offer their subscribers. So there's a massive shift in culture at the moment, and Netflix in a way are kind of being left behind after being the pioneers because they can't offer those kind of things. A lot of their stuff is, even if it's fairly recent content, is by the time it's on there seen as a little bit dated. Whilst with Disney offering from them, with things like Hulu in America, you're able to watch things the very next day. So if you want to, in the same way that we have iPlayer in this country for the BBC, they have all of these on-demand services that you can watch last night's episode of Gotham or last night's Modern Family if you wanted to, using these services. But you don't get that on Netflix. You get things on Netflix months after they've aired elsewhere. So Disney have obviously dipped their toe in the water over in Europe with Disney. Is it Disney Life it's called?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Has anyone actually, because I've used Disney Life, but has anyone else used Disney Life?
No.
I used it when it first came out and it was awful.
I think it's very expensive for what it is. It's £10 a month, I think, and it's it's literally just got Disney content on there, which is good, but doesn't have everything that Disney own on there. So there's still things you have to get from other platforms. And its main selling point was that you could download a couple of apps from the App Store for free every month, which it's great if you was going to spend the money on the apps, but I don't think everyone would do. So £10 a month seemed a lot for what they were offering. So if they did get into partnership with Netflix, it gives, gives them a lot of options for things to do with that. Plus, in a lot of countries already, they have deals with Netflix to show their films. So their back catalogue's already on Netflix. So in a lot of ways, it would make sense. But yeah, I just thought that'd be quite interesting.
Yeah.
But early doors. So you heard it here first, but I'm sure it won't be the last that you hear about it on here as well. But yes. Was there anything else before we wrap up, or?
Yeah, there's a new light show at Hollywood Studios.
Okay.
Called Jingle Bell, Jingle Bam.
Jingle Bell, Jingle Bam.
Yeah.
Jingle Bum.
Bam.
Right.
You say bell, you say bum. Tomato, tomato.
Yeah. And I guess this is what's replacing Osborne Lights, sadly.
Oh, yeah.
So what is it then?
Basically, it's not very different from the Star Wars show.
Mm-hmm.
It's on the Chinese theatre, and it's kind of like light projections and lasers. I mean, it looks pretty cute. There's snow and fireworks. But it started yesterday, so haven't really seen a lot of it yet.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm really surprised that and this is an idea, Disney, so if you're listening, you can have this for free. But I'm really surprised they don't do a version of the Osborne Lights at Disney Springs. I just think that would they would draw in so many people. So many people would come and see that at Christmas. Because the Osborne Lights were phenomenal. I don't know if any of you guys got to see it. We did one time, and it was amazing.
I think you did P-Dubs, haven't you?
Sorry, what was that? I didn't quite catch that.
Osborne Lights.
Yes, I did it. I've done it a couple of times.
Yeah. I was just saying, I don't know why they haven't done it at Disney Springs or move it to Disney Springs or move a version of it. I mean, you could probably do it with permanent LEDs now, but I just think at Christmas it would be a huge draw.
The only thing I can see the reason why they haven't is because they can't charge ticket prices.
Yeah.
And I think that's possibly the reason why they've not done it.
Yeah. But have you seen the price of a beer at Disney Springs?
Yeah. I did see somewhere
shit.
Someone else was advertising something that was very, very similar to the Osborne Christmas lights.
Mm-hmm.
And it literally looked like it was the same lights.
Yeah.
Like they have gone somewhere else, but they're not calling it Osborne anymore.
Yeah.
So
I don't want to just cut a deal with Ozzy and Sharon. And just call it Ozzy and Sharon's Osborne Lights, because, different Osbornes. Surely that'd get around a copyright.
That'd be different.
Yeah. And they could shake in the wind. And swear occasionally, just like Ozzy Osbourne.
In the shape of headless bats.
Yeah.
And just charge them the bill. Oh. Well, thank you, Paul. Thank you for sharing your trip report. It was it sounded like you had a great time, and
we did.
If you're interested in hearing Paul talk about Universal at his first ever Halloween Horror Nights, we will be recording a episode of Universal After Dark later this week.
Yeah.
So look out for that one as well. And no, I'm not, I was going to say something I won't, because that will spoil it. So no, go and listen to Universal After Dark, and you can hear Paul discuss that. And thank you for joining us again, dear listener, and we'll see you very soon.
Bye.
Right, and so for our other sponsor of the show, we have Wendy Prater at Magical Journeys Travel.
Yeah, we do. Yeah.
The very beautiful looking Wendy Prater. Is she on your to-do list? Like, if you meet her in real life, you're allowed to?
She's, when you open the wallet.
Yeah.
She's the picture in my wallet.
I get you. But other than our lust for Wendy, her and her Magical Journeys are there to help you plan your next Disney vacation. So whether that's a Disney cruise or a trip to Disney World, Wendy can help you by getting your reservations at midnight, getting those all-important Be Our Guest dining reservations or meet and greets with Anna and Elsa. And I think if you quote this podcast, Craig, get a bit of a discount on your deposit, don't you?
Yeah, $25 off, yeah.
There you go. So, next time you want to book a holiday, give Wendy at Magical Journey Travels a little tinkle at wpmagicjourneys.com or on Twitter at wpmagicjourneys.
God bless Wendy and all that sailing it.
This podcast is part of the After Dark Podcast.